got all the fly, I'm gonna pop all day.
I like that.
Yeah, see, when I thought of this, I thought of the siren and the mermaid is the siren. This her siren. That's why I keep saying. That's why I keep saying I done became a fish. The siren was out there luring me into the water, and she said, "You gotta learn how to swim now. Now, if you keep being afraid to drown, you ain't gonna never learn how to swim." So I had to become a fish. Hey, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give us a little water. Hand me that jar. I'm finna get a restriction. Hand me that jar. I'm gonna earn mine, though. They gonna have to. Hand me that jar. Now listen. Let me go ahead and put this on the microphone. This finna be the new microphone. AI gonna have to figure me out. I want to go into some plant medicine and how it can assist our healing adventure, turn that journey into an adventure. Because I get asked a lot of questions, okay, especially about mycelium. Okay, let me go ahead and turn me down a little bit so I can turn you up. And if your hands don't hurt by now from tapping the screen, you're doing something wrong. You should have nearly broke a finger. Break a finger this time. Break a finger. What was that?
Tap. Clock that and then tap that screen.
Upgrade me. Nevertheless, have you been curious to try to figure out how plant medicine can assist you on your healing adventure? Have you been questioning the ideas, okay, of the magic of mushrooms or fungi or maybe even other forms, okay, of psychic help from the plants? Because that's what you actually receiving. Psychic help from the plants to increase your psychic abilities. Okay? And what are your psychic abilities? What can a psychic do? Let me go ahead and get in my mood. What can a psychic do? The psychic can not only see in the future, but the psychic can also see in the past. Okay? So what do that mean? That means to see in your past, you finna have to do that shadow work. You finna have to open those old journals. You finna have to open those old diaries. You finna have to revisit your adolescent self. You finna have to go into the past. And to go into the future, it's quite simple. Contrary to what Einstein was telling us, it's quite simple. All you got to do is envision. Okay, when you envision, then on the outside, you begin walking in your visions. The stuff that you imagine. You know, all of this you imagine, right? The stuff you got on, the things you doing, the people you around, you imagined all of this first. Okay? So, you can take charge of the things that you are seeing in your reality once you harness and grasp the power of envision. Okay? This is why meditation helps. Okay, this is why when you sit in a calm spirit, you know, in silence is the emotions. Go ahead and listen. The emotions is in the silence. You feel a momentum, you feel a build up. Same thing happens when you meditate. When you meditate, there's a build up. The same build up you see when you close your eyes and you go to sleep. You see them dreams that happen? All you had to do is put yourself still and you started to dream. Okay? So, as we go into this adventure of life that I'm speaking on first, sometimes you may pick up some things along the way. Yeah, you may pick up some things along the way. And some of those things may be some plants. You may be putting some of them plants in your knapsack. Because you may need them further down the road when you gotta tap into your psychic abilities. Okay? When you got to become Dora and Boots. Okay? When you got to pull out the map. Yeah. When you got to tap into that Barney bag or backpack and pull out all the things that you needed in life for them later days or them rainy days. Okay? So, the fungus is your friend. Only when you prepared though. And not only this, all plants in general. It's your friend. They there to provide natural healing methods and remedies. There's a recipe for everything. You know how you got into that situation that you in? There was a recipe for that disaster. Don't you know you're going to be able to unwind and see this recipe once you do the shadow work? Once you do the shadow work, you will see and spot the problem. Usually you was the problem most of the time. Anytime you blame anything else, okay, that means you delirious and delusional to allow something to have that much power over you in your life. You the problem. You always take that. But it's going to take some time for you to come to this conclusion. That's what healing is about. Coming to the conclusion that you've been pretending, cosplaying in life, lying to yourself about who you is, knowing you already knew who you was since you was 3, pretending like you needed to be all these other things to make yourself happy, to know these people, to do all these. I want you to understand this is the journey that you're gonna be on when you dealing with plant medicine. Okay, this is where they finna take you back to the source. You the source. Okay, and then they gonna also guide you to understand that you don't need nothing else. Okay, you don't need to be addicted. You don't need to consistently keep revisiting the same things, because when it comes down to plant medicine, particularly fungus, you are building new neural pathways and rebuilding the other ones. So let's just say you had 3 neural pathways. Now you got 6 from that last trip. You done really tapped into some psychic abilities. Now you can do things that you ain't even know. You thought your telepathic abilities led you to just feel things. Now you can hear exactly what people saying. Yup, now you more than reading between the lines. You inside the lines and looking at the words coming. Okay? You doing what you supposed to do in life. Okay? And it's not that you're able to do these things on fungus or any plant medicine. Okay? Because I don't want you to think that these powers go away. Your superpowers was already there. The job of plant medicine is to make you aware of your abilities that have already been there. So I say all that to say, if you are psychologically healthy, and I do mean that because everybody not psychologically healthy, everybody not mentally strong enough. You ain't got to be those mental brutes. Okay, but you do got to be mentally strong enough to be able to handle the emotions and the information you're going to be receiving. Because I know y'all heard that there are a lot of dark voids that people go into, and sometimes they can't get themselves out of it. Okay, sometimes people take one trip and they be done went around to Mars and never came back. But I want you to understand it wasn't the fungus. It was already something inside of you, okay, that was already trying to leave the planet. Plant medicine ain't take you off the planet. You was already going through psychosis. You was already going through psychosis. You're already schizophrenic. You're already hearing voices. The voices growing body. You sitting there talking to all your imaginary friends already. And then you gonna go ahead and take some plant medicine? This ain't finna make things better. They ain't finna get better. They ain't finna get worse. Okay? So if you already insane and you know if you insane, that's what I like about insane people. They say crazy people don't know they crazy. I beg to differ. Crazy people know they crazy. Y'all ever hear somebody tell you, oh, I don't do that. Y'all look at me. Look at me. I think they say, oh, no, I don't do that. I don't need to smoke. Oh, the bird that flew out the cuckoo nest messing with me. And then if I go ahead and do other things, you know what's finna happen? The bird gonna come back in different colors, okay? Because I'm so sensitive, I be done adapted to life, adjusted far too well. I'm easily manipulated. I know me. So there's certain things I don't know. Crazy people know they crazy. You're gonna have to self-diagnose yourself and say, am I ready to do this or am I not? I know not to drink. You know why I know not to drink? Because drinking make me aggressive. And if I stay in the aggressive mode and there's nothing to be aggressive for, I get angry. So what? Ain't nothing worse than angry and you ain't got no way to put it. You done worked all the outs that you gonna do. Okay? You done did that. So nevertheless, if you're not mentally capable, or if you know people that's not mentally capable, don't you offer them on the same healing experience that you offering yourself? This is personal. First, you got to understand that. Your healing adventure is personal. Sometimes y'all be wanting people to be around. Sometimes you be questioning why you may be by yourself. Sometimes you forget that it's personal. You was going to be the only benefactor. Only you was going to be rich after you cultivate a rich mind and a rich spirit. You the one was going to be enjoying this. So it's personal. One nobody's supposed to be around. You the one that got to go through it, and you the one that's going to be the benefactor. So, nevertheless, plant medicine is okay, especially done in controlled environments, especially if it's done by a holistic practitioner or professional. Okay? Especially people with psychiatric and psychology in their backgrounds. We ain't talking about Dr. Umar type of psychology, where your patient. Nah. People that are who are already healed. Okay? People that have some type of rapport with the community and with themselves. Okay? Not nobody who walking through the empty hallways and back rooms of no empty building, no bando, talking about they got a school. No offense, I'm throwing shots. He caught a strike. He caught a strike. Okay? But nevertheless, psychedelic therapy is a real thing. I facilitate psychedelic therapy for those of us that are emotionally mature, at the least, and mentally capable. Okay? Why? Because I provide mindset training and meditations. And part of that mindset training may also be an emotional reset, a mental reset, a spiritual reset. And there are also meditative vices. This is one of those meditative vices. Plant medicine is one of those meditative vices. Music is one of those meditative vices. Today we lit a fire. The elements are those meditative vices. Okay?
Straight understand.
Okay, those holistic events that I be doing, those nature walks and hikes and all that, all of these are mindfulness activities and exercises that lead us to cultivate more meditative vices so we can have more tools. Remember the knapsack I was telling y'all about that become the burning bag that you're going to need for the rest of your life? Yup, that's what's inside of this. Some meditations, it's some exercises, it's some activities. And you also may have to break the glass. You also may have your first aid kit for your spirit. And inside that first aid kit, okay, you got some spiritual band-aids. You got some fungus. You may also have some things you need to burn. There's a lot of things you can burn. Palo Santo, some sage, some cat. So come on now. All types of things you can burn. Okay? For when you need it. And for when it's time. Today we burn some money. Today we burn some money. I say, shout out to y'all if y'all join me in burning some money. And if you have it, you go out there and burn you some money. You don't need me to lead you. I burn some money. We burn that money on here. We ain't burn all of it. There's still some more to burn. We're gonna let the women and the babies burn this one. But we burned some. We burned a little. We burned not a stack, but we burned enough. In a lifetime of me burning money, I done burnt definitely about this many. I burned this many monies. And we're gonna burn some more. We're gonna burn some more. My little baby wasn't here while we was burning some money guns. He coming over. His mama got him doing some work. We serious people. Mama got him doing some, but we finna burn some more. Okay? It's an honor to be able to have these things in my knapsack. I want y'all to understand where I get courage, confidence, and bravery from. I got a knapsack. I've been filling this knapsack up since I was 16 years old. Okay? And ever since then, I've been younger. Ever since then, I've been enjoying a free mind, a free spirit. Today's burning money was a mindfulness exercise to show us that we don't need to worship anything. Anything. But the thing that be attached to anything. Because we be attaching ourselves to this money.
Yes.
Attaching ourselves to people. But more or less, attaching ourselves to things that are burnable. Okay? Some people even burnable. Some of them need to go in the flame. Sometimes I sit there when I burn the money, I sit there and imagine that ain't that president face on there. That's somebody that need to go into the flame face. That's somebody else's face. Okay? So, Burning money is a practice of you are rewiring your body to be anti-worship, because we shall not worship anything, especially not a graven image. And what is a graven image representative of? Anything material. Okay? Anything material burns. It don't deserve for you to be attached to it. Listen, a wise person named Dora done told me this. Okay, since we done been on an adventure, let me tell y'all what Dora done told me. Listen, you be connected to everything. Okay? But you be attached to nothing. You be free. Okay? And anything that's calling for you to be attached, you go ahead and burn it. Throw it in the flame. Nevertheless, it's been my pleasure to deliver you that energy one more time, one more again on this Wealth and Wellness Wednesday edition of Let's Get Rich, where we enrich our minds, bodies, and spirits on a daily basis. And since we already rich, then the only thing we got to do is get richer. Okay? So for that matter, our slogan here is Let's Get Rich. I appreciate you, tribe. Make sure you subscribe.
Let's get rich.